Hello, so you're welcome to this part of the video. Now in the last video, if you recall, we were able to activate this to-do list using what we've learned in JavaScript fundamentals and in an about DOM. So we are able to use some pipeline algorithms and some other topics that we considered to activate this dark mode feature to search for to-do list sleep. So you see, so that is the match. So that's why it's only showing that one. So we're able to activate that. Then we're able to avoid deleting on impulse. So it should be something that the user has to verify before it deletes. So we're able to also add some features, JS study, JS classes. So that has been added. So these are some of the features we activated, but there are some few things we need to add. What about the time that each task was added? What if we can add it? We can add that here. Or what about adding the time here? What about creating our own custom pop-up like this? Then that will also interact, maybe position it at the center instead of this default browser's one. So how can we create that? So we need to know how to use our promises, because once we click this button, it waits for this action before it executes the code. So we need to know how to create JavaScript promises for that. So those are some of the things that we are going to learn: how to use the setTimeOut and setInterval. So let's begin to learn some of those stuff. So classes. So after we finish learning classes, we'll learn about how to use the date object, which is an object built from a class. So I'm teaching you class so that you're going to understand how the date objects work. Then how to use setTimeOut and setInterval. Then how to use promises. Then applying everything that we've learned, you're going to beat the alert, the confirm, and the prompt. Maybe show slider, spinner, or the modal. So I'm going to do only one so that the video will not be extremely long, but with the idea from this, we can create all of this just using algorithms and what we've learned. So let me go a few page. I think it's 14. So that should be the previous one. So classes. So JavaScript classes are templates for JavaScript objects. So you can think of a class as the architectural plan of a house. So you see, the architectural plan of a house is not real. You can't pack in to an unbuilt house which is just only drawn on paper. So but is a blueprint for what a real house can look like. So when the house is built, it becomes an object that you can pack in. You can invite families and friends. You can even rent it. So that is what JavaScript classes are. Now up till now, when we want to create an object, we manually create it, maybe add some few contents, then maybe in time begin to add some other properties to the object. But with JavaScript classes, we can create what looks like a template of what a class should look like. So another way you can think of a class is like a questionnaire form. So based on the question and the options, that will determine what the user will answer. So that is what classes can help us do. We can create our object from a template. So that is what a class looks like. So to declare a JavaScript class, we use the class keyword. So there is no let, var, or const here. So the class keyword, then the class name, then we use a constructor. This dot name is equal to name. These are the class properties. This dot equals to a. Now we are using this to make the class dynamic. So this constructor is used to initialize the default values in the class, so that when I want to create an object out of this class, I need to pass in name and year. So we can also add methods. Sorry, excuse me. You can also add methods to a class just like an object. Remember, when you create a class, for it to be useful to you, you have to convert it into an object. So just like we can add methods to an object, you can also add methods to a class. So to do that, you just use this method age. Then if you're going to accept a parameter, then you put your x, then this is the class method, then the age is this. So to make use of the class, we have to convert it into an object. So creating an object from car class. So my car new, now this is another keyword. So when you're creating an object out of a class, you use new, then the class name, then pass in the required parameter, which will be received by this constructor. Then class support object-oriented programming, OOP. Now when we learn function, remember I told you that there are two levels of advanced programming. So that which is functional programming and object-oriented programming. So when you organize your code using more of objects, so you're getting towards functional programming. But when you organize your code using more of classes, which can also include functions or method, it's now getting towards object-oriented programming. Now these are high-level programming that can be used to create complex applications which are maintainable. So let's see how we can create this. So if you have this in mind, let's begin. Now when you are learning a code, first of all study the ingredients of the code, so that when you want to type it on VS Code, you don't have to just copy and paste. You should just study the vital ingredients. If you forget anyone, you come back. By doing that, you'll understand the syntax. So let's do that. So I need to create a class. So here we have our classes. So class. So let's create a class of, so remember the keyword is this. Then we have the car class, then we have our bracket, then I have our constructor. So this is going to accept two arguments before coming here. So I believe that is the reason for that. So it's going to accept two arguments, which is the name and year. So to initialize this inside this constructor, we're going to say this. Now remember, from our object, this refers to actually this car. So this dot name is equal to name. Now if you notice, I'm ending it with a semicolon because this is not inside an object, but it looks like an if statement. So we can write our blocks of code here. So I have this dot year be equal to year. Then next we need to add our function. So to add our function, we use the name of the function, so which is, let's say I want to get the age of the car. So the age of the car, and we'll pass in a value called year. So that will be a local variable. Then we are going to return this dot, then to return year, because it's like taking the age. So to this, the year that we have minus the year the car was created, which is this dot here. So that will give us the answer. So that is it. So you can also do some other thing. You can also make sure that the age that is passed here is not a string but a number. So this is how a class looks like. So let's create an object from the car class. So now this is a car and there are so many brands of cars. So let's say I want to create a Toyota car. So now another way you can also think of a car is like a mode. So you can use the mode to create different objects. So if you use a based on how you set the mode, let's say it's an adjustable mode, so you can adjust and create different shapes. So let's say I want to create Toyota car. So let's Toyota, because remember we use the new, then car, then of course from the intelligence it's showing me that I need the name of the car. So the name of the car is Toyota. Then the year it was created should be, let's say 2014. Okay, so now that we have this, we've done that, we can consider log Toyota. So let's see how it looks like. So I'm going to inspect this. Then I have my car object. So inside my car object I have the name and year. So I can do the same thing and come back here, create a BMW car. So BMW, so the name of the car will be BMW, and it should be 2019. So I can create another one called BMW. So you notice I'll still have two objects, but now you see I have two different values. Okay, so let's check the age of each car. So BMW dot age. So let's say I want to check the age from 2024. So that will give us how many years? 5 years. So that will amount to 5. So if we do it for here, Toyota dot age, remember the method, so 2024, so that will amount to 10 years. So we have that. So you see, this is how an object looks like. Now you can also add to the class. So let's say I want to add owner to BMW. So bmw.owner. So let's say Amadi Chile. So once an object is created out of a class, you can interact with it the way you would a normal object. So where is it? So you see owner has been added. So just the way we interact with our normal object, we can do that. So the primary purpose of teaching you this class now is just to let you know that when we want to create an object out of a class, we use new and char. Now the next thing we're going to learn is the date object. So the date object, you create it out of the date class, so that when you see this, you will know what it actually means. Now with regards to the date object, so let's create another class. Not all classes have a constructor, so let's see how we can do that. So let's say I have let's say dummy user. So class, let's say user. So let's say I want to have let's say I want to have age, let's say name is equal to Chile, then email is equal to Amadi Chile at gmail.com. So let's see. So I have this. So I don't think we need a constructor here. So let's see what will happen if we do this. So I'm create a user object from user class. So let's say the user should be, let's use let Chile equal to new user. So notice this user does not have any constructor, so I can use it that. So let's see what will happen if I show Chile, if it throws an error. So if it doesn't, then that has worked. So you see, that has worked. So just like we can access properties from a class, I can get .email. So you see, I have that. So the same thing goes for these other ones. So consider log BMW, that one is easier to type, dot name. So the same thing goes. So you see, that is how you create. So not all classes must have a constructor. So if they don't have a constructor, of course it means you don't want your class to be dynamic. So that is it for classes. So the next thing we want to do now is how to use the date object. Now let's learn how to use the date object to get date and time. So like I mentioned earlier, the date object is gotten from a class. So date object. So to get the date object, you select D, so you can use any variable there. New date. Now because we've just learned class, you know why we are using the new, because that is, and this is a class that then you're creating the object out of it. Now this doesn't accept any parameter, at least for now. So consider log D. So let's see what that will give us. So we have the time. So we see start today. Oh, enter Saturday, August 10. This. So let's do some more. Dot date to date string. So you want to get a date string, you can do that. So that will give you this. So I think now that we are not doing anything much, so let me convert this. Nice. So that is it. So the next one now is let's use time string. So I have the time string. So we have that. So this one is the string, this one is the time string, GMT. Okay, so that is how we get the date and the time. So how do we get maybe the year? So you can have get full year. So let's see what that gives us. Gives us 2024. So what of month? Get month. So we have that the month is 7. So remember, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So it starts from 0, so that's why we are getting 7. So if you wanted to show the normal distance, you have to create an object. So let's get that off. I will do that for the day on. So get do we have weeks? Okay, get date. So date will be this thing. Get day. So that will give us 6. So the same thing for this day and month. So if I wanted to show today is Saturday, so if I want to show Saturday, so I have an object of an array of days. So let days be equal to, so remember that it starts from 0. So Monday will be 0. So have Monday. So I didn't want to do the month because it's long. So I have Tuesday. So we have Wednesday. So we have Thursday. Sunday. So if I want to get the day to be meaningful, so I'll say days. So remember how we learned in our objects how we can use a variable to get. Okay, that does not apply. So how we learned in our array of how to get items from an array. So we need to add a valid index here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is not correct. So I think for it to be showing me 6, today is Saturday, tomorrow, so on Sunday will be 0. So I'm going to remove this one here. So on Sunday will be 0. So just the way it is arranged, Sunday. So if I paste g dot get day, so I'm going to get Saturday. So if you arrange it where you get Saturday, so tomorrow, which is Sunday, will be 0. So that will come back to Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So if you do the same thing for the date, I mean for the year, you're going to get August. Okay, so that is it. So you can also get minutes. So consider log. D dot get, let's get the hour. So the hour now is depending on is 1 AM. So that is the hour. You can get the minute. So get minute. So the minute is 11. So get seconds. So there are so many of them. So this is the second. So you notice if I refresh the page, the second will change because it's not static, and the minute will also change, but the hour remains the same. So you can use this to do a stopwatch. So you can just get the time and this, and by the time you start to do setInterval every second, you increase, you change the time. So that is it for the date object. So how do we apply this? So if we go back to our to-do list here, we can actually add the date here. So to do that, let's create a function of return date. So function of get date. So this function is going to return the date in strings, so I can use it there. So let the equal to new date. So of course I want my to date string, so so first of all, let's play around this here. So d log d dot to date string so if I do that, I will get this. So remember, I can split this. can split it by space, so that will return as an array. So I can choose to get the date first, the year first, or the month first. I can rearrange it the way I want. So that is what I'm going to do. Ctrl C. So let's date string date array equal to, so you can make this the way you want. Then I'm going to return so the to-do list for the date first. So the date is date array. So remember, the date has an index of 2. Then I need the month, so 10th August. So date array, the month is 1, so I have that as 1. Then now the year, so I want the year. So I think I've made a mistake. This should close here. So that should be that. Then last one should be date array. Then the year should be 3. So if I do this now, remember that this get date support hosting. So if I get the nav h1, so let's nav h1 should be equal to document dot query selector. So dot nav h1. So remember from our class. Then nav h1 dot to dates dot test content rather, then plus equal to, then get dates. So I'll just append that. So that is what we show now. So you see it's showing me to-do list 10th August 2020. So that has worked. So that is how we can apply that. So using the same method, we can also, so at your leisure you can do that one. You can also add the time for each time a task is created, but we've succeeded in adding this. So that is the cost. So in adding the time. Okay, so that is for that. So that's how we use the date object. Then the next one I want to learn is, so another way we use the date object is when you want to add the copyright, the year. So you just convert this, use the year, so that once the year changes, you're not going to come back to manually change the year on its own. It's going to refresh depending the date of the computer. So let's go back to the So how to get time, so how to set date and hour. So we've learned how to get, but how do we set date and hour? So let me show you that. So to set, so by default the one we've done is this. It's going to, we are only getting the date and the time based on based on the correct one. But if I want to set year, so d dot set date. So remember the date is 10, so if I want to set it to 24, so let's see what the date will show now. So let me come back to my console, move this up. So you notice the date is showing me 24. If I also want to set the year, the dot set year, set full year. So let me set it to 2032. So you see the year we are seeing is 2032, and that is what we are seeing. So it has affected the entire. So I can also set the day too. So let's say set day we have set day. So I don't think we have set day. We only have set date and full year. Because I have set month. Set month. So we can set month to, so if I set month to 2, that will be January, February, March. So it's going to show us March. So that is it, it's going to show us March. So that is how we can set all of those. So you can also set minutes, set all of that. So just use the same principle. So that is it for the data object. So the next one is how to use set timeout and setInterval. Now the set timeout and setInterval, they are called asynchronous function because they run in parallel with other functions. Normally JS execute code one after the other or synchronously, but this asynchronously is like it's independent. It can run on its own, while JavaScript handles other code. So it doesn't run, JavaScript does not wait for it. So remember, asynchronous programs are difficult to write and difficult to debug. So the solution is promises. So how do we use this set timeout and setInterval? So let's say I want to be showing the time each second. So let's do that. So get full. So let me clean up this. So let's say now we have the setInterval. So we have the setInterval. Now the setInterval repeats a code for a specified number of time. So let's say setInterval. So setInterval, I put every second. So let's say I want to be showing console.log. So let me use console.count. Then sec. So let me use So what will happen now is every second this code will be running. So you see, just like that on its own. That's what I call setInterval. So for every second that will be running. Now we can make this useful to us. So if so I can create a date here. So let d equal to new date. So this is what I mean by playing around with your code. So you just see a principle, try to use it to do something, and by that you're learning more. So you can say consider log d dot to time string. So let's get to time string. So what will it be showing? So you see how the second is changing. Every second is changing. You see. So that is it. Every second that will be changing. So that's why it's called setInterval. Then once it reaches 50, now of course this will increase to 26. So that is how we can use that. Now that is for the set interval. Now what if I want to stop this? So to stop this, we have what we call, we just save. So let t, or let's stop interval be equal to this. So once you save what the function is returning into a variable, now each time you create a set interval, you can create more than one, they return like a key that you can use to stop them. So I can put here. So let me do another one. So instead of this, let's do a counter. So let's c equal to 0. So c is equal to plus equal to 1. So if I do my consider log c, what will I be seeing? I'll be seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. So nice. So what if I want to stop the count after 10? So if c equal to 10, then clear interval. So when you put clear interval, you need to put the key. So stop interval. So that is the key. So let's run the application again. So once it reaches 10, it's going to do what? Stop. And that's the end. So you see, so that is it for the set interval. It repeats a code a certain number of times. Now while the set interval is running, notice what will happen if I put a consider log here after interval. Notice this code will run, so it doesn't prevent other code from running. So you see, so that is it. So the next one is the set timeout. Now the set timeout is like you've created a code and you want it to delay and run after a certain amount of time has elapsed. so you use that as set timeout. So set timeout, so you choose the function. So I want it to run after 5 seconds, 5,000. So we're going to use our setInterval to know that. Then run after 5 seconds. So if I save this, you notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see run after 5 seconds, 6, and that is it. It will run again. So that is it for the set timeout and set interval. You see some application of where you need to use them. So if you need the code to repeat on its own over based on time interval, you use set timeout. Of course, if you need to clear the set interval, you save the key in a variable and clear it inside. The same can also be done with the set timeout. So let's say you want a code to run after 1 hour, but when a state changes before that time, you don't want the code to run again. So you can do that here. So if the state changes, you can clear the interval. You can clear the timeout. So those are some scenarios where you need to clear the set timeout. So now to our next topic, that is promises. So the promises, they are, in normal English, a promise takes time. So if somebody promises you, I'm going to give you 10,000 naira, so that is a promise. So even though the person tells you just wait, let me go inside the house, you see the time before the person goes bring the money, count it, it takes time. It can also take a day or two. So in JavaScript, you can divide promises into 3 parts. The producing code, which is the code that takes some time. So the producing code is like the person that is making the promise. So before the person who carry the promise, a certain amount of time can elapse. And the consuming code is the code that must wait for the result. So you that a promise is made to, you are like the consuming code. Then a promise is an object that links the producing code and the consuming code. So remember, producing code, the person that makes the promise. The consuming code is the person that have to wait for the promise to be fulfilled. So promises take time to so promises take time to execute, so you have to wait a little. For example, when requesting blog posts from the backend. Now, to declare a promise in JavaScript, you use this syntax. So let my promise, then equal to new promise, then function my resolve. So this my resolve is what you use to return a success to the consuming code. The reject is a failed response. So the proceeding code may take some time. So my resolve was successful, my reject. Now you cannot run these two at the same time. So there must be a condition for which you resolve and reject. Now using a promise. So to use a promise, you can use async and await, or you can use then and catch, or try and catch. So excuse me. So when you are using async and await, you need to put them inside try and catch. But when you are using it inside then and catch, you don't need to be inside the try and catch. So let's make a promise. So now, because we've learned how to use the setTimeOut, so we are going to create a promise. So promise. Now, one thing about JavaScript promises, remember, by default JavaScript does not wait for a code to run. So if a code takes time, it's going to leave it and execute other code. Now when JavaScript sees a promise, if you don't tell it to wait for that promise, it will just output whatever result is available and continue with the rest of the code. Now that might not be what you want, because the purpose of us making promises in JavaScript is to make decisions. So if you send a request to get some blog post, so if the blog post is successful, then you want to show the code, you want to look through it, else you don't want to look through it, maybe show an error message. So in that kind of scenario, if JavaScript does not wait for the promise, then your code is going to run into an error. So excuse me, so we need to tell JavaScript to wait for it. So let's create a promise first. So let my promise to be equal to function, then we say new promise, then we have our function, so we have my reject, we have my accept, then I have my reject. Then we have this. So what I want to do now is set timeout. We want this to take 5 seconds before it will return. So accept true. So what we are actually doing here is when we call this promise, my promise is going to take 5 seconds then before it to actually return a response. So what we want to do now, so it's based on what we did here. So promise, so new promise, this okay, I added my own as a function, so let me remove this. But you can see I add it as a function. So let's try to use this promise. So the first thing we need to do is to use our try and catch. So if there's an error, we're going to get the error console.log error. So this is called error handling. Then so let to my promise, then consider log answer. So let's see what happens here. So you notice when the answer will show based on our set interval. Let's see. No answer. Okay, so let me check. So if that's the case, this should not be a promise. Promise is not a function. So I was correct. Okay, so you notice it actually ran before the count, and I didn't see that earlier. So that was because we didn't have an await here. So await, but this comes with a new. So let's see. So before we use await, we need to use async. So what we can do now is, you cannot use async without being inside a function, so it must be inside a function. So what we can do now is you're going to create a function that calls itself. So that you do it like this. Then this is a function that calls itself. So I'll put my async here, then I'll put the rest of the code here. So because of this async now, I can now await and the error will be gone. So let's see if we have something. So we're expecting the answer of true to run after 5 seconds. But we didn't get that. Okay. Let me just try something. So it seems the code never runs. Okay, so we'll find out why. So this is the first method, so let me try the other method. So I'll create a function called, let's just call it a, or is a text function. and we call this and put this as async, and let's now call our A, and let's see what happens. So you see it runs after 5 seconds, so our promise is working. So that is how you learn coding. So you try different method. So why did that method not work? So I'm very curious. It should work. So is it because I added my, so let me add the async here. So I think maybe it's because this is an arrow function. So let's use the function keyword. Can use the function keyword like that. So what you just use is brackets. And where do we have the error? Okay, so for some reason that didn't work. So this one worked. Okay, so this is one that works. So if you want to use an asynchronous function, a promise, you create your promise, then to test your promise you need to use the first method is using the try and catch. So try and using the async and await means you have to use your, so let me use the pipe symbol, means you have to use your try and catch. So that's what we are doing here. So let's try the second method. So you notice if we do this now, after 5 seconds the promise will be executed, then we see true. So let's try the second method. So the second method is this: you have your my promise dot, so you invoke it, and you have your dot, then so I can have my response, consider log response, then dot catch error if there's one. So any of this method, that's what we'll be using in our React. So consider log error. So let's see if we are going to see true after 5 seconds. So you see, so So whichever one is better. So you notice that the second method is kind of straightforward than the first method. So let me comment this out. So you notice that after 5 seconds I see true. So that is because of this here. Okay, so that is how we use promises. So if we want our code to run, we need to put that inside the promise. So any code I want to run after a promise is fulfilled, then we can put it inside here. So once it enters this loop, it's going to wait. Now let me put a code after your console log. After promise. So let's see if that code will run after promise. So after promise has run, so you see it didn't wait. So if you want that to run after promise, you need to put it inside here. So because this dot then here means when the promise is fulfilled. So we want it to run after the promise has fulfilled. So you see after promise. So you see the same thing as the true. So any code we want to run after a promise, put that here. So if we want to also do it with this method, which is we must use a function. It's kind of complicated, but this one, so any code you want to run after the promise has fulfilled, you put it here. Then if there are other codes below it, so let's see what happens if we put await here. Let's see if there's any difference. So await is not valid, so don't put that there. So that is it for the promises. So after promise has run. So that is it for the promises. So using this basic understanding, you should know that whatever code you want to run after a promise should come inside here. So that's how you nest it until you get what you want. So in that order. So if you put it outside here, it's going to execute because JavaScript does not wait. But when it, so this is like a loop. So once it enters here, it will wait for this. Then after it run, depending on the promises. So if the code below is dependent on this promise, then just put them inside here instead of putting them outside. So that is the basic understanding for now. So I think with this we can proceed. So with this now we want to do some stuff. We want to build an alert, a confirm, and a prompt. So depending on our time, so I want this video to end before the next 20-25 minutes. So let's try to build something like this. So let's try to build something like this, that when we want to delete something, we're going to show something like this. Then we can style it to show like this. So in the next video, that is what we are going to build.